Hello and welcome to Mr. Quinn Maz. In this video we're going to be focusing on completing the square and having a look at how this can be useful to us and what information it can tell us about our quadratic equation when drawing our graph. Hello and welcome to Mr. Quinn Maz. In this video we're going to be having a look at completing the square. Hello there and welcome to Mr. Quinn Maz. In this video we're going to be having a look at completing the square and having a look at how this can be useful to us when we're asked to construct a quadratic graph. What information it tells us about our quadratic equation. So let's have a look here. As you can see here at the top we have a quadratic equation, and at the side here I've just done out the graph. Now the first step before completing the square is to rearrange this equation so it equals 0. I'll just show you that now. X squared plus 6x minus 4 is equal to 0. It's very, very important to do this at the very start. This is our first step, making the quadratic equation equal to 0. Now we can then complete the square. So x plus 3 all squared. We're going to subtract 9 there. So it equals x squared plus 6, and then we're taking away our 4, and that's equal to 0. So x plus 3 all squared minus 9 minus 4 is minus 13, and that's equal to 0. So now we've completed the square for this equation. We have our perfect square and then we have a single number here. This single number will tell us the minimum value for our quadratic equation, for our quadratic graph. This minus 13 will tell us the minimum value. We'll write down here at 13, minus 13. The reason why that is, this bracket, the smallest number that this bracket could possibly be when squared out is 0. When you square something, the minimum value it could possibly be is 0. You cannot get a minus number when you square a real number. So the lowest value this could possibly be is 0. We're subtracting 13, so the minimum value of the overall equation is minus 13. Now let's have a look at what value of x is going to give us this minimum value of 13. Well, when x is minus 3, you have minus 3 plus 3, which gives you 0. 0 squared is 0. 0 take away 13 gives us our minus 13. So the x value that gives us this minus value is minus 3. So this value down here at the bottom is minus 3 minus 13. Hello and welcome to Mr. Quinn Maz. In this video we're going to be focusing on completing the square, and we're going to be basically looking at how it can be useful to us when we're asked to sketch the graph of a quadratic function. We're looking Hello and welcome to Mr. Quinn Maz. In this video we're going to be looking at completing the square. I'm going to be having a look at how completing the square can be useful to us when we're asked to sketch the graph of a quadratic function. Okay, so here we have a quadratic equation, and I've also done the graph here for this quadratic equation on the right hand side. Now the first thing we must do here before completing the square is rearrange the equation so it equals 0. So this then gives us x squared plus 6x minus 4 is equal to 0. It's very, very important that we do that at the start. Now from just looking at this equation, we know a few different things here. We know that it's going to be a U-shaped curve. It's a positive quadratic function. Now we have this here set up so it's equal to 0. We will complete the square. So this then gives us x plus 3 all squared, and then we must subtract the 9 for it to be equal to x squared plus the 6x just, and then we're taking away our 4, and that's equal to 0. So x plus 3 all squared minus 9 minus 14 is minus 13, and that's equal to 0. So we've successfully completed the square for this quadratic equation. We have the perfect square term here, and we also have the single number. Now this single number will tell us the minimum value for our U-shaped curve here. This minus 13, you can see that the minimum value of the y value here is right down here at minus 13. And the reason why that is, well, if we look at this bracket here, the smallest value that this could possibly be is 0. When you're squaring something, it must give you a positive answer. When you're squaring a real number, it must give you a positive value between 0 as low as 0. So the minimum value of this could be a 0. We're taking away 13, so the overall minimum value for this equation is going to be minus 13. Now what value for x will give us this minimum value of 13? Well, we have to make this 0. The value of x that is going to make this here equal to 0 is minus 3. And you'll notice that the coordinate point here, minus 3, minus 13, is this minimum value down at the very bottom here. So the minimum value of the y is going to be minus 13 when x is equal to minus 3. So the minimum point for this U-shaped curve here is minus 3 minus 13. So that's how completing the square can be useful to us. When we complete the square, this single number here will tell us the minimum value for a curve, or a maximum depending on whether it's a positive quadratic curve or a negative quadratic curve. We can also solve this and find the values of the roots of the quadratic equation, this value and this value. So rearranging the equation, we get x plus 3 all squared is equal to 13. So x plus 3 is going to be equal to the positive or negative root of 13. So x is equal to minus 3 plus root 13, or x is equal to minus 3 minus root 13. So our solution for x here, minus 3 plus root 13, that's the root here. And this other solution is this root here. So you can see how completing the square can be useful to us when we're asked to draw the graph for a quadratic function. It'll give us our minimum value, and you can also then easily find the roots of the equation. So here we have another quadratic equation here, and this one's slightly different because we have a 2x squared here at the front. But we're going to use the same method, and we're going to complete the square, and then this is going to tell us a few important things about the curve. So the first step there is rewriting the equation so it's equal to 0, which they've already done here. And the next thing is then completing the square. So we'll just factorize this first of all, and then we'll complete the square. So this then gives us 2 upon x squared plus 4x minus 25 is equal to 0. Now we'll complete the square for this bracket. That gives us 2 upon x plus 2 all squared minus 4. And then we're going to be taking away our 25. Okay, so this is going to be 2 upon x plus 2 all squared minus 8 minus 25 is equal to 0. So 2 upon x plus 2 all squared minus 8 minus 25 is going to be minus 33. So we have completed the square for this quadratic equation. Again, we have our perfect square term here, and then we have our single number. Now this single number, as we know, is going to be our minimum value for our y, which is minus 33. Well, it's very difficult for you to read that in that graph there, but this is what the minimum value is down here. Let's have a think about so we'll write that down first of all. So the minimum value of y is going to be minus 33. What is the value of x? That's going to make this here 0, and as a result then give us this minimum value. Well, when x is equal to minus 2, you're going to have minus 2 plus 2, which gives us 0. And 0 squared is going to be 0, 2 times 0 is 0. So when x is equal to minus 2 here, the minimum value is going to be minus 3. So we have the minimum value of y is minus 33 at x is equal to minus 2. So the minimum value, or the minimum point, I should say, is minus 2 minus 33. And you can see that from the graph there. Go across to minus 2, right down here at minus 33. It's also worth noting at this stage, the common mistake people make here at this point is that when they have an equation like this, is to divide the entire equation through by 2. You cannot do that, or you'll not get the correct answer. It doesn't work when you do that. So do not divide the whole equation, or do not be tempted to divide the whole equation through by 2 here. So we'll just take note of that. Do not divide the equation here. Now, the next step then we can use our completed square here to find out what the roots are. We'll solve this equation. So let's solve this equation and find out what the roots are. So this then gives us 2 upon x plus 2 all squared is going to be equal to 33. So x plus 2 all squared is going to be equal to 16.5. X is going to be equal to minus 2 plus or minus the square root of 16.5. So x is equal to minus 2 plus root 16.5. And x is also going to be equal to minus 2 minus root 16.5. And that is they are the roots then for this quadratic equation here and here. This one is this one, and this is this. So that's how completing the square can be useful to us when we're asked to sketch a quadratic graph. It can tell us important information, important points about our curve. Now, if you haven't already, I would recommend that you try exercise 2D on page 22 and 23 of the CA Maths textbook, and also check out Mr. Haggerty Maths, the videos on YouTube and on his website, particularly the one titled Completing the Square.